We'll be starting in a moment. Okay, good afternoon and welcome to today's segment of Lunchment with the Rabbi. As we know that on Thursdays we are going to do Ethics of Our Fathers. So today we will focus our class on Ethics of Our Fathers, Chapter 1. So, Ethics of Our Fathers, Chapter 1, there is a quote here, a very famous quote, which is well known. Hillel and Shammai, who were the great leaders of the Jewish people in the time of the Sanhedrin. Hillel was a very humble person, a person who lived just a little bit about his life. He lived 120 years, just like Moses. He was a leader of the Jewish people, enacted many different principles and rules that are still applied today in Jewish law. One of them very famous for, known as the Prusbul, which was a document assigning loans can extend even after the sabbatical year to enable lenders to collect their money even after the sabbatical year. At the age of 40, Hillel gave up a life of wealth for a life of poverty in order for him to indulge in the study of Torah, to the extent that Hillel had a very wealthy brother by the name of Shevna, who Shevna told Hillel that I'll partner with you, that I will support you, and you will in turn give me half of your reward of the study of Torah. Hillel disagreed, and he wanted it all for himself, of the study of Torah, to continue studying the Torah in a great length and a great depth, that he became the head of the best, the leader of the Jewish people at the time, while the head of the best in rabbinical court was Shammai, his counterpart. Even though we hear many times in the Talmud about discussions and debates between Hillel and Shammai themselves only disagreed 8 times, but it was more the yeshiva, the school of Shammai and the school of Hillel, that we find numerous times debating in Jewish law, which one of them looked at the actuality, while one looked at the potential, different views of how they looked at Jewish law. Today we're going to discuss one of the signature ideas and landmark teachings that Hillel taught, which is brought in Ethics of Our Fathers, which is very applicable and practical, especially in today's time and age with all that's going on, which is that Hillel tells us as follows. I'll read the inside of the Mishnah, which is Mishnah 12. Hillel and Shammai said as follows. Hillel said, you should be of the students of Aaron the Kohen. Learn from his traits. Be someone who loves peace and pursues peace by helping others to make peace, and one who loves his fellow creatures and brings them close to Torah. Hillel over here is telling us a very important part, which is number 1, the Mishnah tells us clearly, be of the students of Aaron. Who was Aaron? Why was Aaron so significant? And it explains to us that when a person came over to Aaron and showed Aaron love, and Aaron showed them love, they all of a sudden asked themselves, why am I worthy that Aaron should come to me and show me love and show the kindness to me? It must be that I better behave if Aaron is coming to me and showing me kindness. And that would cause the person to mend their ways. But then he would go a step further. The Mishnah tells us, be of the students of Aaron. Instead of just saying love peace and pursue peace, which is a great phenomenon on its own, why does the Mishnah say be of the students of Aaron? And over here, the Mishnah is teaching us a very deeper lesson. Who was Aaron? Let's remember, Aaron was the high priest. He was the brother of Moses. He was dedicated to his service of holiness in the Holy Temple. He was the first one to ever enter the Holy of Holies after Moses teaching the Jewish people what to do. He was the one. He was the representative of the Jewish people. He was the epitome of what it meant to separate holiness from non-holiness. Aaron was a person whose job was to dedicate himself in sanctifying God. And still in all, Aaron found it necessary to show love and kindness to every single person. Aaron found it necessary to bring peace amongst people. Aaron found it necessary that even in cases which may be not, you don't have to love that person for whatever reason it may be. But Aaron over here taught us something differently. It wasn't a person, even if a person who acted foolishly, wickedly, he went and inspired them to return from what they did wrong by showing them love, by showing them caring. Over here, the Mishnah is teaching us a very important lesson, and Hillel was a person who personified it, and that's why Hillel is the one who says it. Aaron went to every single person. It didn't make a difference who you were. He educated and he loved every person, gave them kindness. And with that, he brought them closer to God. He brought them closer to each other and closer to God. Aaron was humble, just like Hillel was humble. The Talmud tells us about the humility of Hillel, that there was once these two men who decided to challenge each other, and they made a bet who would succeed in causing Hillel to lose his temper, would then win 400 zuz. So it was one hectic eve of Shabbat, Friday afternoon, and one of the men came to Hillel's house and continuously harassing him with nonsense and with questions which don't make any sense, like asking them why camels have wide legs and why people have dark skin, and all different kinds of questions which were just to be able to get him on his nerves. And because of Hillel's extraordinary humble and patient with people, he emphasized this concept of the importance of Aaron HaKohen. And this fellow who tried to get Hillel so angry, still couldn't get him angry regardless of what he did. And every single time Hillel came to him patiently, answering him the questions and listening to him until the guy started crying to him, said, look, I lost the bet, and Hillel helped him out there as well. Hillel was a person who gave his life and dedicated his life for the teachings of Torah. As I mentioned, Hillel was at first wealthy and then gave of his wealth. And that once he was so poor, he couldn't afford to attend the study hall. So he climbed up on top of the roof and he put his ear by the skylight to listen to what they were studying, until the snow began to fall, and he didn't realize that the snow was falling and he was covered with snow. And only the next morning they came and they saw that it was dark, and they saw an image of a person in the skylight, and they went to the roof and took him in. And with that, Shmai and Naphtali said, forever he is able to come in with no charge. Hillel would take a certain amount that he earned every single day. Half he would give to support his family, and the other half he would give to dedicate himself to the study of Torah. Hillel was a person who personified humility, and he explained, in order to show love to every single person, the key ingredient is humility. Without humility, we can't show love to every person or true kindness. Many times we show kindness to another person because we hope and ultimately that person will reciprocate in kind. In fact, we get upset when that person doesn't reciprocate. In fact, we get all angry. Look, I was so nice to him, and they have the audacity to not even answer or not come back, or whatever it may be. What does that tell you about your kindness? It wasn't kindness. You were just doing an investment. So the next time you need something, somebody will answer your call. Hillel teaches us, Ohev Shalom. Number one, you need to love peace. If you really want peace to happen, it has to be something you admire, something you wish, something you crave for. And if you really like it, you will pursue it. You will do it, and you will look for a way to happen. You're not going to say, well, he doesn't want, and just give up hope. You're going to find a way that you can make it happen. But number three is it doesn't make a difference who the person is. If you look at the terminology that the Mishnah uses here, he brought close the creatures to the Torah, meaning that even if a person's only quality was the very fact that he was a creation of God, and everything else he did wrong, Hillel didn't look at him with disdain. Aaron, the high priest, even though he was the great leader, didn't look at him badly. On the contrary, he said, you're a creation of God. There's what to love. There's what to embrace. There's something you can come close to. But there was a key ingredient that he reminded himself, and he reminds us. He brought them close. He never changed his principles because of his kindness. When you truly love somebody, when you truly care for somebody, you don't need to give up your principles because of it. Love doesn't mean to forgo your principles and crossing any red lines. Because if you truly love somebody, then you can love them and still stay strong in your principles and bring them close to the true ideas and ideals. The moment you give up those principles, you truly don't love them. You're just trying to find a bargaining tool. Aaron, the high priest, taught us this because he had to stay holy and sanctified to God, but at the same time, he loved every single person. Hillel also in his time, out of true humility, he was able to express and show his love to regardless of who the person was. As the very famous story of the convert who comes to Shammai and asks Shammai, I want to convert while standing on one foot. and I want to learn the whole entire Torah while standing on one foot. Shammai chases him out and says, are you nuts? While he comes to Hillel and he says, I want to learn the entire Torah while standing on one foot, Hillel tells him, whatever you don't like to be done to you, don't do unto your fellow. Hillel explained to him or personified the entire teachings of the Torah was love for a fellow. When we have that patience, humility to be able to teach a person, while not bargaining on our own principles, standing strong on the principles that the Torah teaches us, but showing absolute love, we then can appreciate and then can give over that kindness, that generosity, that appreciation, and ultimately bring peace amongst people. The reason why we sometimes fall off the beaten path and we're not able to achieve that peace is because, again, we're looking for an investment. We're being kind because we're ultimately hoping for that reciprocation. We're being peaceful because since we want to be able to change something within ourselves, not because of that person. And therefore, Hillel and Aaron teach us, respect another person because they're a creation of God. Give them kindness, and you'll be able to bring them close to the teachings of the Torah without bargaining or changing your ideals and your principles. Realizing what is strong and true will forever stay strong and true. But with kindness and with love, we will overcome any boundary and any obstacle. Thank you for listening today. Tomorrow we'll be back at 1 p.m. with the lessons that we learned from this week's Torah reading. God bless you and have a great day.